and welcome. You're tuned to The League Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, and it is Oaks Day. At what is currently a soggy Wellington, Paul. There was talk we were going to be out on track this morning there at Trentham. I'm glad we pulled the pin on that.
Yeah, we made the correct call. I know that BP did it tough last week up north there, exactly. But they breed them tough up in the Hawke's Bay. We're not of that ilk. No, we need to stay out of the rain. Get nice and dry.
Yeah, I'm glad. So Pops, we could have looked worse than Pops there, the way it's hosing down here in Lower Hutt. Steve, good morning to you.
Morning, Thaddeus.
Big week last week. It's a steamer day, Auckland Cup day.
Pukekohe, a little bit different than previous years, obviously being at HQ. But some really stellar performances. The top echelon of horses really stood up. Tokyo Tycoon and the feature, the steamer for the 2-year-olds, Group 1 level. A race that was controlled by Craig Grills and Opie Bosson up front. They've gone out 37 for the first 600 and then have come home 33.40 for the last 600. It's roughly 10 lengths faster the last 600 than the first 600. So those horses that were on speed, the likes of Ulanova and Tokyo Tycoon and the jockeys controlled up front, they may have been the best horses on the day as well, in particular the winner. And he's very impressive. He locks in 2-year-old of the year regardless of what unfolds for the next couple of months of the season. But he'll come back as a gun 3-year-old. They've turned him out, Tiakau. They could target many races with him. They could head over to Aussie early doors for the spring, maybe a Caulfield Guineas, or they could keep him here, work back from a 2000 Guineas, and he's got all the lead-in races going forward as well. So he is a gun and one of the better 2-year-olds we've seen the last decade or so, Tokyo Tycoon. When it came to the weight for age, the Bone Crusher, again, we go back to these weight for age 2,000 metre races, and quite often we see them as sit and sprint affairs, but just in the last two weight for age 2,000 metre races, the Herbie Dyke and also the Bone Crusher on Saturday, they've gone out above even tempo, and they've come home above even tempo as well. So speed ratings out of the Herbie Dyke and the Bone Crusher were healthy. Prowess, the 3-year-old filly, winning and holding on. There was a protest, second v third, but the right decision was made in the room. And she almost puts herself into conversation for Horse of the Year. She probably has to win a Group, well, she needs to win a Group 1 in Australia, and then she can hold those level peggings with a horse like Legato, who's been there and done that, won a Group 1 New Zealand and Australia, and we can't forget Sharp and Smart also. But a question, I know you know the answer, so I'll put this to BP when we bring it, but look, Sunline was a 3-year-old filly who won Horse of the Year in 99-2000. There's been one other filly, BP, will come to you, who has won Horse of the Year between Sunline and now. Who is it?
Throwing him in the throat. Under the bus. Good morning, Pops.
Good morning. Good morning. Right. Jeepers.
She won an Oaks. There's a little...
she won the Oaks.
She won the Oaks.
We could have an unbelievable amount of dead air here as well.
And she was Horse of the Year.
She was Horse of the Year. 3-year-old filly.
What decade?
The only one since Sunline.
What decade are we talking?
No, not the noughties, the teens, isn't it?
The teens, yeah.
Oh, this is dead air. This is not good television.
You got me, Hunty. Yeah.
Bonneville.
Good work.
Morning, BP. Yeah, exactly. Morning, BP. You're nice and dry this week, anyway.
Yeah. What I will say as well, I mean, who wins 3-year of the year? I mean, there's a lot going on in terms of, who's going to be winning awards and things, but the 3-year of the year category is certainly going to come down to what happens in Australia with horses like, Sharp and Smart and Legato and those sorts of things. So, look, there's a lot to unfold around awards and certainly with the autumn preparation coming up for a lot of these horses. But, it was a good day last Saturday. It was a day where, as you've mentioned, Tokyo Tycoon and Prowess, and look, those good horses really did stand up, didn't they, with their particular victories. And look, Tokyo Tycoon, I guess we were sort of hoping that maybe there might have been one more in him with a trip across to Tasman, but as you pointed out, Hunty, it's more about looking towards him as a 3-year-old campaign. So, yeah, look, can't wait for this Saturday too, because this is a pinnacle day for the club with the inclusion of the Levin Classic. It's not just about Oaks Day. You've got the 5 black type races. It really is a great middle part of the program, isn't it? Where you've got just back to back black type races. I guess it's just that issue with the weather and how much rain they are going to get there out at the Hut.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Nerve not Verve nearly got home for you in the Auckland Cup.
Almost, yeah. Possibly the start.
Yeah.
Just cost it slightly. She had to just do a wee bit too much.
Extremely hard to the 600. So she had all reason to finish midfield, like the leaders that were around her and running did. So she'll push on to Sydney. She'll be a chance if the track, if we get a little bit of aqua around as well in the autumn.
100%.
No real short price favourites this on the Trentham card, the Oaks card. They're
Seamus might be the shortest price.
Yeah, what,
240,
240, 250?
230,
I mean, we had Prowess and Tokyo Tycoon last week, but if you're looking for stocking fillers for your multis,
they're not there.
You're going to have to do a bit of homework.
That's Trentham for you, though, isn't it?
Indeed.
Okay.
Throw the weather in.
Yeah, exactly. And throw the weather in as a bit of a curveball to make things even a little bit more difficult. BP, we'll come back to you for your ever-popular segment, Maidener of the Week.
I guess what Alan Sharrock might be Father Christmas though, with a few potential stocking fillers for punters throughout Saturday afternoon. But let's have a look at our maiden of the week, and going to go to Wednesday, Petrucci. Really nice win this. This is a horse who's dashed late, as you can see, sitting off heels in the Trelawney colours. Beep Beep will get one shortly. Looked like it was going to be here on this occasion because it bounced out of the Paul David Maiden, and then watch this horse sprout wings late, last 200 fastest for the race. Really good victory. Looked good through the trials. She's a daughter of I Am Invincible, Mark Walker, Michael McNair for Trelawney Studs. Petrucci will make her our maiden of the week.
Gee, that was nice, Steve. Particularly that last 100, 200 metres. Very strong.
Yeah, there was a few nervous moments halfway down the straight, but she got out clear in the last 150, 200. Michael McNabb dragged her over the line. Look, she was set up to win first up. She had five trials leading in, but working back from last February, or February last year, should I say. So it's been a slow process to get her to the races. 3-year-old filly. Is she a Cambridge breeder sort? Possibly. The back end of April, or maybe they're working back from that race to pinch a bit of black type before it turns out to an older horse. But look, Trelawney, they paid some big cash for this filly, 450k, the English sales a couple of years ago. She's by I'm Invincible, so some black type would skyrocket her in terms of value. And look, overall, I think there were some nice races to follow. I think the juvenile race, won by Aprilia, I think that form will stack up. The race rated above standard, so I think the first 2 or 3, they all had money on at different stages on race day, are worth following for some juvenile races in the next few weeks.
Yeah, okay, very good one indeed, Petrucci. How are we saying it, Pops?
Petrucci.
Petrucci. Oh, I need my Italian's not strong, to be fair. Okay, team, let's move towards Trentham. Let's hope this rain is going to hold off, or it's not holding off at the moment, but hopefully, there's some, thank you, team. There's some live shots. Obviously not looking too flash, Steve. Talk us through track conditions and what we might be able to anticipate might be tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, it's a little bit of a guessing game, has to be said, Thaddeus. As you say, raining at the present, soft 5. That was a recording earlier today. The rail's back in the true position. Now, that's key because you work back 7 days to the meeting they had last weekend. The rail was out 6 metres, and it was a day where there was a few horses that looked to come to the middle part of the track and run home, but they just didn't quite finish off. I definitely think there was no disadvantage for horses that were in that channel, that first 2-3 metres on the inside against the rail. I think those horses you'd see the majority of race day were the horses that finished in the top 2 or 3. As I said, a lot of horses were making ground, but not without winning outside that 6 metre range.
They look to be looming up on the outside and never get into
finished off for whatever reason. So, rail back in the true position. That was a good track last weekend, so I don't think there'll be too much damage to the surface over the 9-race card they had last weekend. Again, it's just up in the air. What are we going to be playing with? What's going to be no better than a 6 when we wake up tomorrow? I think the key that I've found just in the last 36 to 48 hours is that there was rain forecasted on race day, but that's just cleared up, and they're looking for the rain to stop early doors tomorrow morning. So I think that's pivotal, because if we get rain on the day, that's where you get the track cutting up significantly. So no rain on the day, maybe we see an upgrade, but I'm thinking no better than a 6 come race 1 tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, let's
We've had steady rain all morning today as well, Friday.
Yeah, we have, but I'd see the forecast there is looking like we might have a half decent Saturday now, fortunately.
It looks like it might be clearing, morning.
Fingers crossed. Righto, team. Race number 8 on the card is the Albasti Equiworld Dubai New Zealand Oaks, Steve, for the 3-year-old fillies over the 2,400 metres, and a wide open market here.
Secura Girl holds the call at 550, loose favourite in front of Penny Wecker at 650, Family Ties 750, Valdezaldo just out a point, got a short of 7, just back out to $8. Zavacat the Maidener 8 out to 9. Contagious heads the market in terms of double figure lines, 12 into 10 there. Sadaka the other way, 850 out to 10. Malfi Rosa 13 out to 15. Diz is Dramatic is almost hard to quote. $31 originally on Wednesday, now trading at $16. Halle Belly at 21, and best of the rest is Fabulous Gal at a $26 price. I should mention she's dominant, 41, got as high as 51, firm back into 31. Look, no strong lead. There is support for the favourite number 1 in Secure Girl, as there is Penny Wecker and Family Ties. But in terms of you're looking for those firmers in the first 48 hours of trading, Contagious and also Diz is Dramatic.
Now, this will be an intriguing speed map that you've concocted here, Steve, I would imagine, because it can be a little bit tricky to map these 3-year-old staying events.
Yes, I've got Secure Girl coming across from a sticky gate. Cozzy does the riding here as he has in the last couple of occasions. I think he eventually gets to the lead, comes across. Contagious will try and hold a handy position from barrier 2. Valdezoldo has that tactical speed which we saw at our Pony. Will sit in the first 4 or 5 and running. Soul of Fire and the Woman King both have drawn outside gates. I think they look to go forward. They'll look to somehow sit and get a bit of cover before the first turn. So initially there's going to be speed because there's horses from outside gate looking to come forward. There's horses that are drawn inside that look to hold a position. So naturally for the first 2 or 3 furlongs there'll be that speed, but I'm sure they'll look to button off mid-race, including the favourite Secure Girl who have got leading unless we see a mid-race move. But outside that, a fairly basic map. As I mentioned, early tempo above average, but they'll look to button off and then maybe take off from about the 600-700 metre mark.
Yeah, okay, BP, well, let's talk about the favourite because she's been very good in her last 2 and put the writing on the wall, Sakura Girl, and deserves her favouritism. That Sunline Vase one was very strong.
Look, it was, and I guess the key for her is that she is an easy horse to try and work out because with that map and with the tactical speed that she does have, nothing much really needs to change here with how her racing pattern is. And that's going to give her chance. I think you just got to keep riding her the same way, put her into the race. What sort of pressure she does cop elsewhere in the race, but that will be just down to Cozzy being aware of that in the surroundings for her because she just keeps going. She just keeps fighting them off. I thought her effort behind Prowess, yes, there was 5 lengths between her and Prowess, but she did fight on very gamely when Contagious went up alongside her and they gutsed it out down the straight when finishing 2nd and 3rd and behind. So, and look, this is that race as we talk about now with Prowess who goes around and look, we all know she's different gravy to this particular field and she proved that by then going on and beating older horses when winning a Group 1. But here Contagious got up alongside and looked like that the horse was going to finish into 2nd position, but I like the way that she just keeps giving here. She doesn't want to give in. Her effort in the Royal Stakes said she'd run some sort of race like this because how unlucky she was, and then she fights back again and grabs that 2nd position. So, as I said, if you're on Secure Girl, you just want to see something similar again. Put the horse in the race, let her roll. Yep, we will have concerns with 2,400 metres, and as we do this at 10 o'clock Friday morning, this could be a whole different picture by the time we get to Saturday with how much rain is falling. And I guess that's an unknown with her, is just, you know, how much rain she can cope and where does a track condition get to, all those sort of different variables. By the time we get to race number 8, we'll know if they need to be down on the rail, if they're coming centre part, does it become a swoopers race? There's a lot of different pieces to this race, and I think with the New Zealand Oaks this year, it's been a very difficult puzzle to try and work out once you remove those 3 very good fillies, and that being Legato, Prowess and Polygon, that you've now got, you know, these bunch of fillies are all very, very even, and it could just come down to the right horse getting the right run with the right track conditions, and look, it could be a 50-1 pop. I think it's that even this year's race.
Yeah, I don't disagree, BP. That win by Sakura Girl, Steve, the 2nd, looks pretty good after we saw what Prowess did last Saturday, so no, not getting beaten by her.
No, absolutely. And look, I think it's an okay form race. As obviously Sudoku Girls come on and won post that. There's one horse I didn't mind in that race, the Fillies Classic, was Malfi Rosa. You see there in the middle teens, number 15, paying the same quote as a Saddlecloth. And look, different form line outside the Sunline Vase and also the Lowland. But you can work form around the Sudoku Girl, who is the favourite. And look, I thought she was a bit flat-footed. They just asked to sprint from about the 600, but her last 200 was quicker than Sudoku Girl, or Secure Girl, should I say. So look, I think there's a lot of merit in Malfi Rosa. Again, she just takes a different form line than the 2 obvious semi-finals. She's a half relation to Gin Martini, who has been a Group 1 placed Oaks candidate in Australia. and also has won over 2 miles in Australia. So I think on pedigree, she'll eat up the 2,400 metres at Trentham, Malfi Racer, and at this stage, she's probably the 1x3, 1x4 play in the Oaks for me. I just think there's going to be a little bit of value, and it may not stop at 15. I could see her touching 21s at some stage on race day.
Okay, well, you talk about the first semi-final, and that's probably the Sunline Vase. The second one is the Lowland and the traditional lead-up, and that was won by 2 horses in commission, or it was won by a horse in riding commission here in Val d'Isolda, but Contagious in the race, Paul. Pennywecker's there, so it's a race we have to have a look at.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I'd like to focus on Pennywecker first. You won't see it here, but she did get back early on in this race and then took a while to find a wee bit of space down the straight here, but once she did, she really started to let down Pennywecker. So I'm very, very keen on her chances. I think she's around 650 in the Oaks at the moment. She usually gets back. But from the handy draw, I'm guessing they may sort of ride her a little handier to the speed this time, which might be the difference. So Pennywecker, Ryan Elliott, I think she's had an ideal prep. What?
They've crawled in that race. Look at the numbers. They've gone out to the 600, 9 lengths below par. They've raced really strong sectionals in the last 600, 34 and change. So
if you went up on the speed, you were doing it tough.
Contagious and Val d'Isolda dominated that race. So it's hard to dissect which horse is going to stay the 2-4 when it was such a sit and sprint. The Lowland Stakes. So those horses like Family Ties, you mention Pennywecker, etc. That even the likes of Flamenco as well, which I know BP's fairly keen with a nice high futures ticket on him, but on her. But look, yeah, it's a hard race to assess, and to a degree, so was the Sunline Vase in a similar race shape. But yeah, it makes it tricky when being confident around which horse is going to stay or not.
What about that Lowland, BP?
Yeah, I think Hunty's hit the nail on the head there because of those 2 horses dominating the race. Look, there are good runs in behind, so how do you dissect them? How do you sort of say that they're chances? Pennywecker, first of all, what we do know is the horse will love the wet track conditions. That brings her right into this race with the fact that there will be a change, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anything in that bracket, no issue for her. And pushing up to 2,400 metres. I guess, again, it's that one where we're sort of just unsure about that extra distance. Yeah, I thought Flamenco was good in that race, and I do take a lot from John O'Benner's report too, that he did suggest that was the first time with her going over ground. She's bred to go more distance. Look, her barrier draw isn't favourable, but by the time we get to 5:30 on Saturday afternoon, maybe barrier number 17 won't be the worst. They'll just ride the horse back, ride it cold, get a swoop into the race, and present and see what she's got to offer. I thought she was the best roughie in the race, Flamenco. I'm prepared to take a chance on her off the back of that run. And there's a great way of playing this race, because I think we've spoken about a lot of horses already. We've only looked at 2 videos. We've probably covered off about 7 or 8 horses already. The DIY power play, I mean, TAB are putting up a top 10 market in that and a top 5. You can just go through there, pick out your 3 best roughies in a top 10 market, for instance. So there's that's a good way to play it. Already starting to formulate combinations around some top 10 horses. So yeah, if you're unsure, maybe work your way to the TAB website and look at the DIY power play for the Oaks.
Yeah, fair, cool. What's this large futures ticket that Steve's been alluding to, BP? Do we need to know anything about that? Or does it keep it close to your chest, just say no more?
He asked me to bring it up.
I would never do something like that. Hey, it's paying $26. I think he might have just got a little bit blurred with his talking there, that it's $26 on the starting price. Yeah, futures. I think she was 101.
Oh yeah, I think very good, very good.
Question is how many tickets?
Yeah,
there was no money for Flamenco. We spoke about this before we came to air. There was no money for Flamenco. I think it originally opened single figures in the Lowland and closed high teens. So that suggests out of a punting stable that there was a little bit left in the tank. Not today. Just drop it back. Learn to settle in a race first time over ground. And this is the grand final on Saturday.
Nice big girl too.
They are a grand final stable. There's no doubt about it. The Benner Wynyard team.
Soft track? No worries.
Pedigree, yeah, you'd say it can knock off a soft track. BP, your thoughts around a wet track and Flamenco?
Yep. I don't think it'll be an issue. I think she's a horse, as you said. There's enough there in the pedigree and the belief in the barn that she'll get through with a bit of forgiveness in the ground. So, yep, top 4 bet for me. And yeah, but look, this is such a good race, isn't it? Because as I said, we've covered off 2 races, and we've mentioned a lot of other horses. Yet horses like Family Ties from the Te Akau barn, who was unlucky in that particular race, is going to take some support. And then you've got a horse like Savacat, who gets into the race as a maiden galloper. Where do we sit with Savacat? Because, look, this was a run where she's covered some extra ground, over 2,100 metres.
That's being polite.
Yeah. Very, very politically correct.
She's run the 2,400 already.
So, look, this was a huge run. I mean, how does she keep going with the run that she had? So, I think she's a massive chance. I really do. The way that she worked out with Sharp and Smart during the week, the team was certainly saying get around Savacat. And boy, the money came for her on that race too, didn't it? She closed off as the favourite on that occasion. Yep, she's drawn low. I think she has to be a contender.
Yeah, she's an interesting runner. How would our maidens go in Oaks, Steve? Do we know, or Paul? Or
Well, I've just been informed. I don't know if this is 100% correct, but there's a guess game out there that Regal Express was the last maiden galloper to win New Zealand Oaks, which you have to go all the way back to the 80s, 1989. So maybe a few viewers can correct me or
Regal
confirm
Empress.
that. But Regal Impress, yeah, 1989.
Regal Impress. Okay, well, it would be an effort from Savacat. Who else you got on your dance card? Who haven't we touched on here, Paul? That we need to before we move on.
We briefly mentioned her. This is dramatic. Trained by Lisa Latta, who's having a whale of a time at the moment.
For sure.
Everything she seems to touch, she turns to gold. She had a $30 shot, I think, open up the program at Trentham last weekend. Of course, picked up the Auckland Cup. She's, picked up a Group 1 not too long ago at Trentham in the Thorndon. So she's going very, very well. Look, this is dramatic. I thought was slightly disappointing in the Desert Gold, but was much improved in the Lowland. And as Stephen mentioned, with the sort of sectionals that they ran, I thought she was another one that finished off very, very nicely. She won the War Decree, beating Cognito in the process, who then went on to win the Wellington Guineas. So there's a wee bit of form around her, and I see we've taken a wee bit of cash. She opened up at 31s in this final field win market, now into $15, Steve.
I can't have her.
Well, there's a few people out there that can.
Yeah, Go Racing, big syndicate. I understand all that, but she won't stay 2-4. She won't like the wet track. Look, I thought her race was the Levin Classic, to be honest. I'm shocked that she's not in and taking on the boys in the Levin Classic. Yes, I concede she ran home strong sectionals in the Lowland, but that doesn't prove she's going to get 2-4. It was just the race shape that allowed her to do that over 2,000 metres. Soft to the 600, then they've sprinted home. She's produced the fastest last 200 of the race, and she was allowed to do that because of the race shape. It doesn't mean she's going to get the 2-4.
Will they go back with her distance dramatic? Because they've obviously it used to be on the speed, and they've just been riding her back, and they rode her back in that Lowland, and she ran on.
I think that's to try and get her
exactly right.
over ground, a mile and a quarter and beyond. But regardless of if they look to find a position in that neutral slot, I don't think she gets 2-4, and I'll be shocked if she didn't trade back into the 20s on race day.
Okay, I'm guessing there's a number of connections in the ownership of Platinum Invader who are also in on Distance Dramatic. So we've just seen a wee bit of the Auckland Cup winnings being put down on Distance
Stable money
Dramatic.
possibly, but
I'm sure that they'd love to see Stephen Hunt eat some humble pie next Friday. So that'd be one thing. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They'd be lining up. BP, surmise the race from a betting perspective. I know you've got Flamenco in there somewhere, but how are we having a bet in this year's Oaks?
Yep. Look, Sakura Girl, I think she is the deserved favourite. She comes through the right lines, doesn't she, with what she's produced in the Alice Classic when running second behind Prowess and her victory in the Sunline Vase. Yeah, two roughies for me, Flamenco and Fabulous Gal. Now, this horse ran a really good second last time to the races behind Texas. Texas did beat half the Derby field home when finishing 9th in behind Sharp and Smart. So that form reference out of that 65-2100 may not be the worst, and she won't mind a little bit of aqua falling on the track. That'll bring her right into it as a heavy track winner. Again, if you're looking for the top 10 market in the DIY power play, I'll be certainly entertaining throwing Fabulous Gal with a bit of Flamenco and Savacat in a combination bet there in the DIY power plays. But yeah, play the one you like, because you're going to get yourself a piece of value if you do like one in this year's Oaks. But yeah, Sakura Girl, Flamenco, Fabulous Gal is certainly a couple that I'll be playing around with.
Starting to get juicy, that DIY power play. Yeah, Paul, how are you going?
I like Penny Wecker. I just like the way that she's come into this. She looks in peak condition. So Penny Wecker for my. It's very hard to look past Tiako. They're looking to go back to back to back in the New Zealand Oaks with family ties. And well, I can't look away from Distance Dramatic. The money has me interested.
Okay,
it has me interested.
I like it. And Malfi Rose is potentially the roughie for you, Steve.
Yeah, look, a Sakura Girl on top.
Yeah.
I think she just takes bad luck out of play in terms of the map, etc. I think Valdezoldo, maybe a little bit of the forgotten horse. I know it's hard to read how you take so much out of that last start victory in terms of the race shape, but she probably brings the strongest form into the race. A couple of fourths in the Soliloquy, in the 8 carat and behind Legato, 4th in a Royal Stakes over 2,000 metres. That's A-grade form for what she's meeting on Saturday. So I think she's a little bit forgotten, but the one I'll be speaking is Malfi Rose. So I just think away from those 2 key lead-up races, she brings a different form line. I saw enough in the Phillies Classic and behind Prowess and the current favourite in Sakura Girl. The last 200 was strong, through the line was okay. I think she can be a nice little each-way play.
Okay, team. Race number 6 on the card, the other feature of the day, the other Group 1. It's the G and Hickton Funeral Directors Levin Classic. Over the 1,600 metres for the 3-year-olds. Steve, run us through this. Another even market as Paul was talking about.
Yeah, an aesthetic market, Thad, in the first, 36, 48 hours of trading, led by the Intimidator at $4.50. Mazzolino in that second line at $5.50. Both those quotes are the original lines on Wednesday. Skewer for $8. Master Brutus, I'm in to win $8.50 each of 2 in that 4th line. Duncan Creek double figures 9 out to 10. Same quote as Romancing the Moon. A Matter of Honour, and also Dusty Road. Dusty Road 21 into 16. A little bit of wet track form. Punters reading off the 9. A Specialty 26 into 21. Colorado Silver. Open at 31, got as high as 41. Punter said thank you very much, we'll back it into 26. And then best of the rest is Arby at $31. So again, no strong lead, a couple that I've specced in Dusty Road and Colorado Silver. But again, punters comfortable enough at the Intimidator and the price that has been offered at 4.5.
Yeah, he was very good last time, the Intimidator BP in there, Mufasa, and it's it's a pretty good form race. We've got a few here that we can have a look at.
A heap, yeah, and look, he is the one where I think he picks himself off the back of this particular race because he's beating a lot of key race day rivals, but it doesn't mean it's all about the Intimidator as well. I think he's a runner that you think, you go back sort of 3 months, he was almost on a path towards the Derby, and look, they just pulled stumps on that after his effort when beaten by Prowess in the 3-year-old Karaka Million Classic. Freshened, he's come back and he's produced this in the Mufasa, and it was a great win by him. He's beating home some horses that are going to be, some of his biggest dangers, and including Master Brutus and the way that Mazzolino got to the line. I mean, Mazzolino will like the wet track conditions too. I think with her victory in the Desert Gold Stakes, anything that, in terms of forgiveness, is really going to help her. I'm also interested in this particular race too that we're about to show, because I really do think I'm in to win is one of those prospects at around $8 or $9, where he's showing he's not that far off these horses when he finishes. Where is it, into 3rd position on this occasion, or 4th position on this day? Of course, he ran through the Bone Crusher, and then of course he ran on. He finished 4th in the Uncle Remus, so that's the Uncle Remus now. And prior to that, he ran 3rd in the Bone Crusher. So I think there's a lot to like about I'm in to win's price and where he might be sitting in the marketplace. So, gee, I find it hard to break down. I believe that the Intimidator is almost that default selection, but if you are a little bit like the Oaks, keen to start searching, there's a price there for you around horses like Romancing the Moon, who won't mind a little bit of off-track conditions. Skillwiff, who Opie Boston's gone with that horse off the back of an impressive 65 win, showed that she couldn't stay by knocking up in the Royal Stakes. That money for Colorado Silver. So, yeah, look, it's an interesting race.
Paul, initial thoughts here? The runs of the Intimidator very good, but there's plenty in behind that were pretty handy as well, to be fair.
Yeah, there were, and look, I do like the look of Mazzolino. She's had some very good lead-up form to this, and most of her form is on soft or / heavy tracks. She's going to get one of those on Saturday. She showed her class when winning the Desert Gold. I really do like the look of Mazzolino, and I love Skew Whiff. I really, really do. I think we've got a race replay of Skew Whiff winning at Mata Mata. And I think that was very, very good after a disappointing run in the Royal Stakes. And it was probably because the 2,000 metres might just have been not quite her cup of tea at this stage of his career. So Skew Whiff, Bit of form as well. Second behind Legato in the 8 carat. And not too bad a jockey on board. Maybe Steve will be able to give him a few notes again before race day.
Well, you listened to me last weekend, which I'm glad to see. Well, not the most conventional prep to run over 1,600 metres. It was over 2,000 metres 2 starts ago in the Royal Stakes. Disappointed. Then dropped back to 1,200 as we see there on Vision at Matamata and got the job done, and now stepping back up over 1,600. So, yeah, interesting. Opie's jumped on Skillworth in front of Romancing the Moon. There's not too much between them in terms of the market. I'm guessing he had the choice, BP, between the two fillies and Skillworth and Romancing the Moon, Opie Bossum?
I guess so, yeah. There'd be a question for Aidan Rodley, but yeah, there's not much between them, is there, in terms of what they've produced? And look, he was on that horse last time to the races, and obviously he said, I'll stick with. So, yeah, maybe there wasn't much between them, though, overall. And I don't think there is. I really don't. Because Romancing the Moon's blown them away and done well through that preparation down south. And she has, you know, she's had 2 trips to the South Island, hasn't she, Romancing the Moon? Because she also went down there for 1,000 guineas preparation. So, look, she's moved around a lot, and she's raced with I think a lot of distinction with how she's performed. Now, of course, this is the effort when beaten by Specialty, who I know that Aidan was pushing as a big roughy chance in the race off the back of this win when beating home Romancing the Moon, and then was beaten next time to the races, drawn low in barrier number 1. Look, could be one for the multiples. Again, there's a DIY power play on this race, so if you are liking the horse, maybe you could start searching in that field. I find it hard. I really do. I find this tricky with 2 things: track conditions with where we are right now, and that unknown zone. And if you are keen to step away from the Intimidator, well, which horse is it? Which is the one that you want to sort of settle on at a bit of a price?
Yeah, was Aidan pushing that on Mainland Matters, BP, was he?
I think he was.
Specialty?
Yes,
yeah.
Mainland
Just
Matters.
Want to give it a plug, Mainland Matters. He needs a bit of a leg up, you know. So.
Oh, no pun intended there as well.
We want to help him out. We want to help the lesser out. You know, lift people up. Their Mainland Matters. Don't miss it. Very good show with Aidan Rodley. Steve, that Dunedin Guineas, Romancing the Moon, Specialty a little bit in and out, but there's money at 21s.
Has been in and out. Hard horse to catch. On his day, he would be a top 4 or 5 chance Specialty. Disappointed last start. But you mentioned that win in the Dunedin Guineas. Rated okay. Still have to improve off those figures when you're lining it up against the Intimidator, Mazzolino, etc. in the Mufasa Stakes. Roughly around about 2.5, 3 lengths. That's quite a big jump. Whether it's neutral or come back a tad because of the wet track, we know that can be a leveller. With Romancing the Moon, that was 1,500. She got beaten by Specialty. She dropped back to the 1,400, took out the NZB Insurance Stakes. Again, a horse that needs to lift to at least 2.5, 3 lengths, similar to Specialty, to be competing against the top 2 or 3 in the market. And the big question mark I've got around Romancing the Moon is the 1,600 around Trentham. There's nowhere to hide 1,600 at Trentham, and if it's an off track, it's going to play a hard mile, and that's my question mark on the filly Romancing the Moon.
Okay. I think there's one other replay we have here around Duncan Creek, who's been a consistent type without winning. Fellini, unfortunately, out of this race now, but money for this Ruffy Colorado Silver as well. Comments here, Steve, around Duncan Creek, who's been a consistent type without quite nailing it.
Yeah, I want to take a set against this race. You see their numbers backing me up. They've gone out slow to the 600. They've run home okay, 33 almost and a half for the last 600, but the overall class rating, that's the big negative, red, and a big red, minus 4.4 lengths. Bunch finish. Fellini has been disappointing this time in. 1,600 again, a question mark. Duncan Creek does have Wellington Guineas form, but again, the Wellington Guineas form has just been a little bit fair post that race in January. The first 3 or 4 just haven't quite delivered in stakes races post that Guineas. So, yeah, again, overall, I just want to take a set in that race. Look, as we mentioned, there's a little bit of spec around Colorado Silver, a grand final stable, so maybe they had a little bit more left in the tank. And I know this horse has been spruiked in the last 2 to 3 months as a top liner. So, but on numbers, they just need to lift that form race heading into Saturday.
Okay. Master Brutus?
Yeah, we'll talk about
Master Brutus. Well, yeah. He's been there or thereabouts without actually being able to get the winner over the last, 3 or 4 starts. But that's against a number of these in this field. I know he's got the wide draw, so what, are they going to settle back and then ride for a wee bit of luck. But at $8.50, you have to have him in there somewhere, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, he comes out of that race behind the Intimidator, doesn't he? Is the mile potentially a little question mark for Master Brutus? We don't know, I guess.
Possibly. Again, is the barrier negative or a positive, or we won't know until how much rain we get. Look, the last 2 starts, they've decided to ride the horse neutral. He was flushed 3-4 wide in the Mufasa Stakes, and they slowly made their way forward mid-race because of the lack of tempo up front. So he wasn't in a terrible position, even though on paper he was 3 wide facing the breeze. You go, ooh, yuck. But again, they walked in the Mufasa Stakes, so I think the right move was made to push forward from that position and be in the striking zone at the turn at Te Rapa. But look, they've chucked in a late nom during the week.
Yep. It's always a good sign.
He's got the right form, right? He comes out of the right race, and that's the most important thing. 1,600, I'm not 100%. But again, I'm just not sure where they map it. Again, you have to assess it whether an outside gate is a positive or a negative midway through the day.
Okay, give us your numbers or how you're going to attack the race from a betting perspective, Paul.
I love the 2 fillies. I do. Mazzolino, I love Skew Whiff at the price at $8. I think we're getting a nice little juicy sort of multi booster there. So Skew Whiff and Mazzolino.
Okay.
And they're drawn right alongside each other. So I hope they carry each other themselves into the race, and we have a little go.
Bolson paying $8, why wouldn't you? PP, your summation of this year's Levin Classic?
Yeah, I'll go on the each way as well. I'll go in to win, runner number 10 in the book. I really liked his preparation. I think he's a horse that has come back off the back of those runs in the Bone Crusher and the Uncle Remus with a good trial. He had a hit out also between races last weekend out of Pukekohe and Auckland Cup Day. So I think he's ready. I think he's ready to run a race at a price. And Mazzolino, just with that rain about, we know that she can get through it at this track condition. So I think that brings her right into the race also.
You're a bit of a nominal to win fan, just in 10 seconds, aren't you?
I am. Again, brings the right form around Secret Satono and Wild Knight, etc. But look, I'll lean towards the Intimidator. I just think he was a run short at Te Rapa. He got the job done purely on the race shape. I don't think they wanted to lead at Te Rapa and the Mufasa, but he found himself in that position and he got the job done. I mean, he's got wet track form. He's won twice on a soft track. He's run second on a heavy deck, albeit that was Maiden class, and he ran a creditable 5th in the form race of the season, the Cuddle Classic for 3-year-olds. So, yeah, as BP mentioned, he almost picks himself. He'll go forward. He doesn't have to lead. So it's not like he could be a sitting duck. If there's a few horses that want to take him on, he can take a sit, trail. And the word out of the camp is think that he might just be a tad better chasing come the business end of a race. So if he can take some cover, that's a positive. But he just brings that A+ form.
Okay. Steve with the favourite there, the Intimidator. BP doesn't mind Ahmed to win, and Paulie hanging around Skew Whiff and Mazzolino. Race number 5 on the card, gentlemen. The Winkworth Grange Cuddle Stakes Group 3 over the mile for the fillies and mares. Do we have any fillies? I suppose we'd know. Just for the mares, it is this year, the Cuddle.
Pearl of Alsace, how good is she? Well, we don't know. 4 from 4 thus far. $4.80 holds the top line of trading. In front of Belclair at $5.50. A Nom de Plume just out of turn 5.50 out to 6. Zoll Express. How often do we talk about this horse on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Well supported and has been a firmer leading into race day. 7.50 into 6.5. Calico at a $7 price. Aromatic at $8. So roughly what we got, 6 or 7 horses there in single figures. Then the second division, headed by Bad and Bouge at $18 off a peak of 21. Blissful Bell at 21 and Le Crier at a $26 price. So again, there's a spread of money on the top 3 or 4. The only firmer from the original price on Wednesday sits with number 1 in Zola Express at 7.50 into 6.5.
It's hard to knock a horse that's 4 from 4 BP, but it has to step up from rating 75 and face some, I say, tough old campaigners. I'm doing them a disservice there, the likes of Belclair, who's been in red hot form.
Yeah, it is, and like Stephen said, we don't know how good she might be, and we are going to get that answer on Saturday with her tackling this type of company. But Belclair is very well placed under the weights, under the set weights and penalties, isn't she, with her rating of 93. The massive concern we have here is just what happens to the track condition, because if we start getting beyond a 7, beyond an 8, I guess that's when you start thinking, are we beginning to pull stumps here on having a bet on Belclair? If it's not in that vicinity and it's hovering around sort of 5, 6, you can still probably bet with a bit of confidence around Belclair. I mean, she's been beaten right on the line there with 60.5 kilograms. She comes back to 56 kilos for this race. She was very good in the wide upper breeders when winning, of course, 2 start to go. Look, Tamahine was very eye-catching in this race too. She went round at a massive price. She finished into 2nd spot on this occasion. She doesn't mind a little bit of forgiveness in the ground. So yeah, Belclair, it's a weathered watch for me, and I guess the beauty we have with where she sits in the market, she's not going to really crash in, you'd imagine, so you've got the chance to just sit and wait and see what happens leading into tomorrow.
Yeah, Belclair was just knocked off there by Field of Gold in that replay too, the last one prior to this, Steve, and did it tough up on the speed in what looked like was quite a hot race up front. So it was, obliged to sort of fold up late potentially.
Now, it was under a big weight, and as you mentioned, considering the race shape, 9 lengths above standard to the 600 on speed, 2nd outer, and she was vulnerable in the last 150. And Field of Gold, who was in that sweet spot, just worse than midfield, managed to get over the top late. So no knock at all on Belclair's last start, 2nd. There was no money for her to suggest this is their grand final, and she was probably a little bit vulnerable leading into this race, back in trip. Yeah, I totally agree with BP. You just got to play the patient game with Belclair, see what the track conditions present. She doesn't like a dark cloud. She can get away with it at best on a 6. But yeah, it looks doubtful that this will be a 6, and if it is, it might be a little bit cut up on the track come race 5. So
Belclair.
Yeah, I don't know. You just have to wait on the day around Belclair. If you guaranteed me a 4 or 5, which I know that's a long stretch, she probably starts 5 in my eyes in front of the Boom horse. But yeah, we're probably having a conversation we don't need to do.
Well, she has won on a heavy track. It was a while ago, and having said that, she did struggle at Trentham back in December on a heavy track, albeit against a much stronger field. So,
what about the favourite, Paulie? I mean, 4 from 4, Pearl of Alsace, the win at Hastings last time.
Well, you can't fault it, can you?
Strong. Tricky too, isn't it?
No, she's done all that's been asked of her. As you mentioned earlier, this is a step up in a grade for her, so we're going to get a wee bit of a marker, I think, on Saturday, just to find out how good she is or how good she may be. Here she is again, and look at the way she just lets down. She's done everything else, so I can understand why she's favourite. She'll get the conditions. She won't mind the conditions on Saturday. So yeah, 480 favourite, fair enough. I think we've also got a little look at Nom de Plume as well, who's back from her little Queensland sojourn. And she's looked very, very good since being back, and that's culminated in a victory here at Otaki last month over 2,100 metres. She drops back in distance.
Yeah, interesting around the drop back, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. But the trainer knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's going all right.
He's a favourite trainer of yours, to be fair. I knew you'd have Nom de Plume there somewhere.
Yeah, well, why not? He's done me many, many favours, Mr. Patterson. So, yeah, Nom de Plume, I do like the look of.
Yeah, okay. 21 back to 16, Steve, with Nom de Plume. I mean,
it's a hard one to work out. I don't know if it's a piece of brilliance. I suppose we won't know after the race, but we're here to try and find winners prior to it, obviously. And but I think I've got a lot of time for her. I've always had her in the black book for the last 6 to 12 months, even prior to heading over to Queensland as a filly. I don't mind stepping down in grade, stepping down in distance, 21 to 16, if you can tell me that you can handle a wet track. And there's going to be a true 1600 with the rain that we've talked about. But I just don't know if she's in that bracket and wanting the wet track. She's got a lot of class, Nom de Plume. So I don't know. If you guaranteed to me that she's a swimmer and she loves an 8 or 9 pentometer reading, that I reckon it's the perfect setup. 2-1 back to 16, no knock. But yeah, I'm just not sure she'll like those wet tracks. Small sample size, so you can't rule the line through it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one to work out. There'll be plenty of money on her. It's just she can do the job, because like the favourite, she has plenty of upside. She's lightly raced. How high is her ceiling? We're yet to know, and there's only 2 or 3 in this race that you could say that about.
Yeah, BP, Aromatic, Kelly Co, Zola Express, your old mate Bad and Bouge. Who else do we need to touch on here before we push on?
Yeah, look, look, I think Zola Express is a runner that'll appreciate the track conditions with it being wet. Look, we know that she can get through pretty much anything, really. She's quite an adaptable horse. She's got a good draw. Things are in her favour. Aromatic's a horse. Look, we know you go right back to the sort of the start of the Cup season. The horse was good enough to win one of those Cups and the Counties Cup. Opie's on. It's a messy race. It's a tricky one to try and work out. Calico will like wet track conditions. Was beaten last weekend. Was Calico. Declan Bates is an NZ tomorrow. Takes the ride aboard that horse. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing my hands up here a little bit around this race, just purely because of the track conditions. I want to tip Belclair, I really do. I want to be on the horse, but because I think she's really well positioned in the Cuddle Stakes, but unless the track's a 5 or a 6, so at this stage, I'm saying Belclair, but not if it's going to be in that wet track condition, because the time that she did win on a heavy surface was when she won a Maiden, and then her placing was in a rating 65. So we're talking, sort of a couple of seasons ago with when she was able to perform in those type of track conditions. Not sure, really not sure at this stage.
Hey, fair enough, and that's what we're here to talk about. But Paul, you're always sure. You're sure of yourself. What are you doing?
Look, I'm sticking with Nom de Plume. I just like the way that she comes into this race. She had that experience over in Queensland. Robbie, you ever ready to go, and I think we saw that with that win last start up there at Otaki. So a Nom de Plume for me, and Belclair. If the rain sort of abates, and apparently there may be a wee bit of wind around Wellington.
Shock me.
Over the next few hours. The track could improve slightly or not get any worse.
Yep.
If that's the case, if it's around a soft 5 at worst, Belclair.
Okay.
I guess, guys, too, another thing about the race, like we probably haven't spoken enough about the horse who is unbeaten in Pearl of Alsace. Look, the horse does get through wet ground, doesn't it? This is a horse coming through the grades. He's shown that she won't mind the rain about. So does that mean she shortens in the market because of that, with what we've seen from her? So she's a mystery because she's been winning through the grades, and we just don't know how good she might be. But could she get shorter? I mean, if the rain keeps falling, is she a horse that gets below $4 because of her record and what she's shown on the wetter track? So, yeah, it's just a difficult race to try and preview at this very time, I thought.
BP could be right there. The answer could be staring us right in the face.
Go with the unbeaten galloper.
Just look at the one who hasn't been beaten.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And she's got a fair bit of stretch about it as Pearl of Alsace. We've got to move on, team. The last race we want to have a look at, race number 7, the Jenny and Holmes Wellington Lightning handicap over the 1,200 metres. Smart type heads the market here, Steve.
Probably the best bet runner, not just in this race, Thaddeus, but up and down the card at Trentham. Seamus, $2.50 into $2.40 accounts for roughly 75% of the turnover. In front of Not Guilty at 4.8. Again, a slight firmer from the original price of $5. Hold the Press 8.5. Double figures around Burgundy Rose at 13. Raffle 12 out to 14. Cavallo Veloce, should I say, 21 into 16 loves the joint. Sassy Merlot at a $16 price with She's a Catch. Maria Farina and Pure Encanto, both similar profiles here in the betting picture, 31.26 respectively, now trading at 21. So a little bit of firm in that middle 10 market also, but basically it's almost one-way traffic around number 1 in Seamus, who looks bulletproof, distance, track, etc. But we'll talk about that in more depth.
BP's got the 60 kilograms, but he looks a good one, does Seamus, in the last start win there at Trentham. Well, what you'd expect almost.
Yeah, I think we can certainly play this one with a bit more of a cross bat as opposed to trying to play in the V here, because look, this is a proper horse, isn't he, Seamus? He really is, and track conditions, well, it just won't matter. I mean, you present what you like on Saturday, Trentham, because he is the real deal, this horse, Seamus. And if it's wet, well, it probably eliminates other horses' chances in the race, which enhances his chances. So, look, he's got 60 kegs. He's a big, strong boy. Yeah, he looks a bet, doesn't he? He really does. 240, 250, somewhere around that zone. And if the rain comes, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts crashing in price.
Look, it's not too often Alan Sharrock travels down to Trentham and doesn't return back up to the Naki without a purse of gold coins in his pocket, you know. This, you know, if you're looking for a shorty, I think this is about as good as we're going to get on Saturday. So if you do like the 240, I'd suggest snapping it up now. I can see that come crashing in.
Oh, okay. Well,
we've summed it up in one.
Yeah, well, we've probably got about as much time to preview this race as that too, but Not Guilty was good. The second favourite last time out winning, Steve. Just for me to look. Yeah, Not Guilty there for the Pike team.
It doesn't have to improve much. If you take the weight adjustment, carried 59 in a lower grade at rating 75, steps up to the open class and drops to 53 kilograms. So again, the question mark, barrier 1. Naturally, earlier in the week, you would have thought perfect for a horse that's going to sit on speed, potential leader, the rail back in the true position. But the negative is the rain affected going. Yes, it's operated on a soft track, but again, I think it's been a leveller for this horse's chances to do the job purely on the rain affected track. And
especially
how much of an advantage will
day.
it be, that rail position from barrier 1? It is a concern, and again, more will unfold leading into this race. What is it, race 7? So, look, it's got the right ingredients. It's been running the figures in lower grade, allow the weight adjustment, 59, 60 it's been carrying its last few starts, dropping back to the minimum of 53. Look, weight's not a huge issue over a sprinting trip. I don't put as much factor to possibly over 16 and beyond, but look, deserves second favourite on face value, but again, the track may be its biggest hurdle. Okay,
Hold the Press BP had a little bit of time off the scene. Winner of 2 of its last 3 and has trialled up for this pretty nicely. And we talk about grand final stables. Well, here is one, Ben Wynyard.
Yeah, and of course she was down to start, a couple of weeks ago, wasn't she? She was late scratching around at the start. Did she bite her tongue or something like that? I think it was. Like it was something that was, she was pretty close to loading away, and then there was 2 late scratchings all of a sudden. But she's had a trial since then, and that was out of Foxton, and she won't mind the off-track conditions. She's a horse, again, that's pretty adaptable, really. She goes through anything. She's won 6 from 20. She's drawn well enough where she should just camp off them. I thought she was great for sort of exactas and Quinellas and those type of bets if you're looking to play around Seamus. I've got her high on my selections. I thought she's a big player.
Yeah, okay. And the last one on the video there is Raffle, who's won its last 2. Paul, look in very good style for Mike Breslin. Rating 88 last time, being She's a Catch, who is in this race as well out there at $16. But Raff will be some sort of chance, you would think.
Yeah, very much so. Anne's got sort of widest draw as well, which may be an advantage.
There's a lot of may or may nots today on the league, but you can't really blame us, can you?
No. But here she is, and as you say, she's bounced back since coming back to the races. Mike Breslin has got her fizzing, and here she is winning. I think this is last start. So she's had a wee bit of a drift. Look, she's won on a soft track before. Has some pretty good form on a soft track. Yeah. Probably wouldn't want it to get any worse than that though, but Cossie will probably have her in a nice little spot, and if she cops the track, then she's a big chance.
Yeah, Raffle, Steve, it's been good. What are we thinking? The track maybe?
Yeah, the track's the biggest hurdle for Raffles. You see the drift there. That's a little bit of lack of money, but also just readjusting the market here in Petone with the rain falling today. The other form line is Burgundy Rose and Amberico. They both come out of those open class races down at Riccarton. So again, we relate the shoot down at Riccarton and unfolding at Trentham. It often holds up. Just on those 2 alone, I'm clearly with Amberico purely on the wet track. It's got its best figures and clearly superior to what Burgundy Rose has on rain affected going. There wasn't probably too much between them if it was a dry deck, but Amberico probably is the number 1 seed for my assessment if the track's any worse than a 7. Amberico, a horse that likes to be on speed, and yeah, I wouldn't.
We're having a little nibble at this 31.
Yeah, I could imagine it starting in the mid-teens to high teens. With its wet track form lines, with a few horses that are a little bit vulnerable. I can see them drifting. The likes of Sassy Merlot, Raffle will continue to ease, Burgundy Rose, possibly even Not Guilty. I thought maybe number 4 could be the spec of a nice 1x2, 1x3 play.
Okay. Not often we get Steve tipping out a $31 shot.
No, that's very true.
No, because I set the market. So.
Paul, Seamus, in a word?
That's good enough for me.
You've done, aren't you? Yeah. BP, what are we doing here? Just backing Seamus, or thinking a few exactors potentially?
What are we doing here? What are we doing here, Thad? We're backing Seamus, and the Lightning handicap is what we're doing here.
Yeah, no, very good. Yeah, no, exactly. Why wouldn't we be? He's been very good, and the 60 kgs we don't think will stop Seamus and the Jenny and Holmes Wellington Lightning handicap. Okay, team, we've got to go, but we don't want to go without acknowledging BP getting his best bet home last week. BP. Where are we going this week? Let's make it 2 from 2.
All right. I'm going to stick with Alan Sharrock, and I'll go to the Tauranga race meeting on the weekend. I do like to have attack. I think he's going to have a great day, Alan Sharrock, and he's just decided to pop one up to Tauranga and see if we can get some spoils up there. So, Al Sharrock on the road. Tab attack for me in race number 7 looks really well placed.
Yeah, very good. As dangerous at home as he is away, Alan Sharrock, to be fair.
100%, yes.
Okay, you got a scratching last week. In Ecstasy didn't make it to the gates, unfortunately, but
No.
you're still the man leading the clubhouse leader. Where are you going with your best bet this weekend?
I'm going to Trentham Race 3, the Bramco Granite Marble Premier, rating 75 benchmark over the 1600 metres, and I like the look of the Patchy Ann. Well, Lisa Ladder, she's doing it right at the moment. Look, got the one draw, but it's earlier on in the day, so it may not be as sort of detrimental as later on in the day. Kosi Asano aboard. I thought that was a nice run last start when running 5th. So Apache Ann for mine, currently around the just over the $4 mark.
Yeah, 420 currently Apache Ann. No thoughts on the breeding of Apache Ann like last the Exospheres, or even got anything like that for us? No, really. Okay. Stephen, you came away a winner last week, albeit at short odds. Doesn't matter though. Small fish are sweet, as Tony Lee would say.
100%.
What about this week?
Yeah, I'll go back up to Tauranga as well, just with the unknown around the track at Trentham. But in race 4, the rating 75, 1400, Ask Mum, been super impressed in her last 2 victories, including the Maiden Nazat victory at Matamata, which was strong on the clock. On the same day, there was a 75 grade race, which rated 1 lap superior, where Gwen's daughter ran 3rd. But allowing for the weight adjustment, Ask Mum comes clearly on top by at least 2 lengths. So, look, she's always a sticky map. She can back in the last 3rd, but yeah, I've got a little bit of confidence in the jockey can get the job done on a progressive mare and Ask Mum.
I see we've already taken a wee bit of action on her as well.
Yeah, a little bit of action. I think she's roughly around 3.8.
Okay, got the makers of a nice multi there for Saturday. Paulie, wrap it up for us this week, please.
We've got the Twitter poll again, of course, and have a look at this. We've got Tavatak, who was BP's.
They must have known BP.
Best bet. Seamus, who BP also likes. Cylinder over there in Rosehill, and then at the Valley, Alligator Blood. So vote, and the 2 top vote getters will be boosted by the bookies. If you leave a comment, you'll be in the chance to win a $100 bonus bet. Last week's winner, at Gulgrey 2305.
I love these handles. They're at Gulgrey 2305. Good luck with using your bonus bet. What about bonus bet blitzes and the like, Paul? Are we back on there?
Let's do it again. The first 4 races this Saturday from Tauranga, Trentham, Rosehill and the Valley. You know by now how it works, surely. If not, just head to the TAB website, check out all the T's and C's.
Do we need to mention no deductions with the rain about down here as well?
Surely the boys are already getting stuck in. That's right, no deductions, no surprises all summer long, and it's a TAB summer, which goes through to the end of March.
Yeah, don't worry. I thought it was autumn. Anyway, thank you, BP. Thanks for your efforts. Where are you going to be tomorrow? Who's the Sweens on track there, Oaks Day?
Yep, Sweens on track, Aiden and Elite Innes, so big crew there, and I'll be looking after Tauranga in the studio. So yeah, it should be a bumper old day coming up with those black type races with, unfortunately, the weather conditions, but yeah, we can't do anything about that, so tune in, Trackside 1 tomorrow. We'll box on. You will keep us up to date with anything we need to know tomorrow, Saturday morning.
No Warriors talk. No Warriors talk from BP.
Gmo, he's not trying to jinx it.
1 to 12.
1 to 12. Yeah. Thank you, boys. Thanks for your efforts.
Cheers, Dad.
Enjoy your Oaks Day, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
you too.
I always do. Hey, thanks for your company again on the leg up. We'll see you in 7 days' time.